Sorry, we got the sound in there. Hopefully everything is going well. I am sorry here. We've just had a last minute thing I had to take care of. We're working on some business, which we will talk about in just a second here. Hopefully everybody can hear me now. Hopefully everything else is going well. It does seem to be a little jittery today for some reason. Everything should be fine. Hang on a second here. I've got one thing running that could be slowing us down. Yeah, that's probably what it is. Do apologize if it's running a little slow. I'm sure it will pick up in just a minute here. I've got something that is almost done that should clear up my system. I am not on my new laptop yet. We do have a new laptop here. I am transferring and putting in some apps and stuff, and once that's in, I don't think I'll have any more issues with any kind of backlog or anything like that, drop frames or anything like that either. It should solve all of my problems, I hope. So I do apologize. In fact, let me just see if I can't fix the setting real quick while we were running. I don't know if it'll let me do that. No, I don't think it will. Do apologize here. Give me just 1 second here. I just see that it is... Yeah, I can't change it. My bad. Well, I do apologize. Hopefully it'll clear up in just a moment here. It does look a little issue. Yeah, it is choppy. I'm not sure what the deal is. We got sound, but now it's gone again. Hopefully you can hear me at this point. You should be able to hear the sound and everything just fine at this point. Yeah, it is choppy. Definitely choppy. Let's see here. I'm sorry here, folks. Let's see if there's something I can change. Yeah, it's really bad today. I've been running stuff all day, so I don't know why all of a sudden it would be current resolution by, which is not... Looks like YouTube changed a setting, and let's see if I can change it on my end. YouTube has updated some stuff. I know one thing I did get was, we can hear you, video is not good, but carry on. Yeah, YouTube has changed some things in stuff. So I've been hearing a lot of people complaining about commercials and stuff. I have not changed a single setting to do a single thing. It's fine on my phone. I can hear you, but you are choppy. Give me just a few moments here. I do have something that's been running for like an hour. It should have been done by now. That may be the issue, which probably got about 5 or 6 minutes left. I actually have a video processing right now for Patreons, which will be up tonight one way or the other. I kind of hate to cut it off now that it's been running for over an hour. Yeah, I really can't change it. I wonder if I can stop it real quick, and maybe we can come right back into it. Hang on just a second here. Yeah, I don't see any way to change it. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just checking just for a minute to see if there's anything else I can do to alleviate the choppiness. And it doesn't look like I can without shutting the whole thing down. Yeah, it doesn't look like I can. Yeah, I'm sorry here. This is not my usual here. I think we are frozen. I think that is what is going on. Let me just kill this. Hang on a second, folks. I think I can get it real quick. It's going to cost me a little bit of time, but I think we can do it. I might freeze for another second here, but just give me just 1 second here. I think I see what's going on. Looks like my PC is tied up on a locked program. As soon as I can get Task Manager open, we will hopefully fix it. Sorry about this. We'll be in the topic in just a second here. I really want to just shut this off if I can. Yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with the background. It's literally I have a crash program. The background doesn't take up any extra juice. I'm running through a like a 4K box, which doesn't affect all that processing for the green screen is not done in my laptop these days. Just FYI. This is actually a CPU. Yeah, it's a CPU issue. Hang on just a second here. Let me cut this off, and I think we should be good to go. Let me shut off 2 things. Not my usual problems here. We've always something, it seems like. Let me shut that off. Yeah, I got it right here. Hang on just a second. I think I can kill it. Hang on. Yeah, it needs to be killed. This might just alleviate some of the issues here. Let's see if that helps at all. Just testing it out here. Yeah, there's still some other issue going on. Encoding overload. Yeah. I don't know if we're getting better or not. I'm almost tempted to stop the feed. I don't know if it'll continue is my only issue. Your audio's good, carry on. We can easily follow along. Yeah, it just annoys me when this happens. Got my first payout for managed payments, no problems yet. Yeah, it's very annoying on my end here. I really wished I could do something. Hang on a second here. I'm going to try something. If for some reason it doesn't come on, I'm just going to come right back on with the live. Well, let me see here. I think it might be running fine now. It almost looks like. I don't have an overload. Yeah, I still do. Yeah. Without shutting it off, I kind of can't do much. I had issues shipping her this week. Let's just go on. I do apologize here. I think, in fact, it's actually frozen in here. Boy, some days I just do not like YouTube. Yeah, I can't. If I end it, I'm gonna have to start a whole brand new stream. Yeah, I just shut off the file. We just ended it. I just forced down ended it. Yeah, it's still running terrible today. Maybe it is my connection to the internet, which is a brand new line too. Give me a second here. I think I'm gonna shut it down for just a second here because this is just murder from my end. I can't tell where I'm at or anything. I'm going to stop it. We're going to change the setting real quick, and I'm coming right back in. So give me just a second here. It may allow... Let's see if this gets me back on. Hopefully you can still hear me. Hopefully we are back on. You may have to reload. In fact, let me reload over here. I can't say... Geez, the resolution is still an issue. It's not supported for this could be expected. Boy, this is not fun today. Looks like I am still having an issue with this. Yeah, it's still bad today, boy. Oh, so this is starting to get humorous. Yeah, I'm sorry about this. You are better now. Yes, you are back. Yeah, it's still off somewhere down here. I must have an issue with the connection or something. It's the only thing I can think of. There's nothing I can change from YouTube. Yeah, we'll just have to go on. I'm sorry. Yes, you are back. A little choppy, but sound is good. It's better. Pixelated, you carry on. Let me try one more thing here. I do apologize. Just give me one more minute here and try one. Now, I should be back, hopefully. Yeah, I don't know what the issue is today. It's got to be YouTube. It's the only thing I can think of. I literally recorded today. Everything was fine today, so... Ohio Internet. Yeah, it could very well be. Hopefully I am back on. If not, we will have to shut the whole thing down and come back in some other way. I don't see any other way to go forward. Hopefully I am coming through okay compared to what it was before. Let's just pop in to see who's here and get some questions answered. Yeah, I've already lost the beginning of the feed. Now we can hear you working. Choppy. Yeah, I welcome everybody in. I do apologize for the issues today. I will probably leave a note in the bottom. Yeah, that's really weird because everything else... I've got myself coming up on several different spots and everything looks fine other than when it broadcasts. So I'm going to have to say that it is, at this point, YouTube. Even my streaming OBS looks fine, which if OBS is off, I should know it. Yeah, no drop frames, no overload. If you're not seeing it right, it's got to be on YouTube at this point. I've checked everything on my end. Resolution looks fine. Everything else is set up. It should be 1080. The whole works. Sorry about that, folks. Looks a little better like max headroom. Yeah, I can't help that, unfortunately, it looks like at this point. Well, good evening, everybody. I do have quite a few people in the house. I know we lost some with the technical issues there. Usually I go right on. We don't have anything like that. I will look into what's going on. Hopefully I'll have my new laptop up by then. For those in Patreon, I will have the video up tonight. I'll restart it for processing as soon as the show ends tonight. And it will still be up before I go to bed tonight. I wanted to call out a thank you. Someone nicely sent me this mug here. I don't like to call out names. They didn't say whether I should, but I thought that was pretty cool. Thank you. This comes from California, a long ways away, as well as a few other things that were sent with it as well, too. So I do honestly appreciate it. The wife loved it. She thought it was pretty cool. So haven't used it. I'll probably put it up on a shelf, but thank you for that person who sent it out to us. There's a few other things that were sent in the box, too. I didn't think to grab them. They are sitting over here, too, but I do honestly and sincerely appreciate that. We do get stuff from time to time. I'm not one to open stuff up on air. One of the packages I received wasn't something I would have wanted to open up on the air. Sent as someone trying to be a little bit nasty, I would imagine. So anyway, we've got Penny, good evening. Karen, Marty, Carl, Doctorful. I got Crystal right down there. Bob is in here. Alicia, let's see here. Rebecca, Gail, Wen, Teresa. Hey, Eduardo, how are you doing? Let's see here. Dan. Don't want to miss anybody here. I got Mac in the house. Richard. Let's see here. My feed's a little better on this end here. Hopefully I'm looking at it. Still looks like it's off on... Yeah, that is really, really, really weird. That is weird. Yeah, I don't see anything else on my end that would slow this up. Yeah, I do apologize. Let's just keep on going, I guess, at this point. I probably won't do a super long show because it just doesn't look very good today. Let's see here. I got Gail, if I haven't called out Gail. And let me slide down here. I think I'm back up here. I've got House on Grind Calgary. I got Rob. Quite a few people. I do apologize for missing some. I got Balto. How you doing, Balto? John Valentine. Daryl's in the house too. As I said, Rob's here. Rosemary, Nantique. Let's see here. Hey, Kathy, how you doing as well? Brisbane. Can't miss Brisbane. Let's see here. Hey, Annie, how are you doing this evening? Crapola, user error as in my figures, at least we can hear. Okay. You might try reloading. I'm looking at a screen live on YouTube, and it's not too bad on my left here. Geez, it's so annoying when you test this and you've been running fine, and then it doesn't run quite right one day. Let's see here. Carrie, how you doing as well? Just got my first payout for managed payments. No problems yet. Let's see here. I'm getting past the audio issues. I had issues shipping earlier this week, but now my shipping screens are all different, and it's really fast and much better. Yeah, there was a change on some of the shipping. We use the bulk shipping. I don't know what everybody else does, but I bulk ship everything in one single form, and we can actually do it from InkFrog now, too, without having to do too much issues. With InkFrog, you can print from like one general source. I mean, there's an app for anything on InkFrog, so I'm trying to stay away from using eBay. eBay just has so many issues. I tested some other things on there, and like maybe 2 or 3 out of 5 were crashing and coming up with "it's not you, it's us" error when I was doing just common stuff on eBay lately, and it seems to be getting worse and worse, at least from my end. Yeah, let's see here. Let me get on the right screen here. Looks like Nobleness D's in the house. How are you doing as well? Unicorns Don't Lie. Good evening. Hopefully I'm not missing anybody here. We're going to touch on the topic in just a minute. Doing the robot, yeah. Hot Arizona Sunday Fun Day. Pamela Saban, how are you doing? Richard Rodriguez. Yeah, it's got to be YouTube's the only thing I can think of at this point, because I've never had this issues. On my end, it looks fine, honestly. If it doesn't look fine on my end, it would be my end. But it's coming out from my broadcaster. So if my broadcaster is shooting it out straight, it should be fine. Yeah, it still looks okay. Maybe a hair choppy. We're not gonna end it on that, though. If I shut it off now, I won't be able to run the same... hang on just a second here. I won't be able to run the same stream. I'll have to do a whole brand new stream if I end up doing that. And I don't really want to do that. So it's starting to get humorous. We got to there. Let's see here. But it looks pixelated. Just carry on. I'm sorry, we're trying to get back down to where I was. Hang on. 880647, welcome. Raymond, welcome. Midwest Picker, how you doing? Good to see you in the house as well. Yay, normal back. Yes, you are back. It's better for me, a little better. Nicholas Tracy, how are you doing? Yeah, I remember Max Headroom. I remember that. There was actually there's a video on the making of Mad Max, actually, which I saw. I think it's from Australia, if I'm not mistaken. A company from Australia. Dirt Road Pickers, good evening. Yeah, it always throws me off when something like this happens. Yeah, it shouldn't be low res either. I don't know why it's streaming like that. It still should be high def on my end. It's got to be YouTube if it's not streaming at high def. Yeah, I just can't get that. It's very annoying. Good here on Florida Space Coast. Raymond Cassels. I used to go to the Space Coast. We used to watch the space shuttle take off back when I lived in Florida. Yeah, want me to beat him up, Professor? No, I think we're fine there. Thank you, Crystal, though. S.A. Peacock, how are you doing? Sheila from Detroit. I get to Detroit once in a while. Now, here's Eduardo. Let's get to some comments and let's get some conversation going here. Week started off super strong for us in sales, and then it has died off. I'm not sure why, but we will see the overall month later on. When I look at sales, I don't look at them or worry about them until it's like consecutive, a couple weeks or something of something going on. Other than that, I don't really worry too much about it anymore these days. Usually picks up. You'll have like a slow period for a few days and then it'll pick up. Usually you got school starting again. You got people worrying about that. There's school supplies being bought. People are shelling out money for that. College deadline for payments for my kids is the 19th. So, tomorrow is the final day supposedly for your final senior year stuff. So I've been working on helping my son with that. My other son, we're waiting on the final paperwork. Universities are just jam-packed with phone calls, so it's just been a nuisance. On the phone all day long, my one son was. And anyway, there's a lot of stuff going on, so I could conceivably see you being slow for, till after the 19th. And I think that's the gist on most everybody. Classes start for most of schools around the 31st. Dorms are open now around here, so they can get in a week or two in advance and things like that too. So keep that in consideration. Know what's going on with the season and stuff like that. With school going back in, that's usually you'll see a dip in stuff. It depends, on what you're selling. Of course, if you're selling like normal clothing and like NOS and stuff like that, you could see a dip right now just because their money's going to be diverted to somewhere else. Now, mostly what we sell are stuff that would go to somebody who probably doesn't have to worry about stuff like that. A lot of retirees buy the vintage items and stuff like that. Professors and things. Businesses and other art companies buy a lot of stuff from us. A lot of the vintage stuff that I sell is copyright free. So if somebody buys a bunch of die cuts or some cards or something, they can do whatever they want with those. People will integrate them into like sticker production. I sell to a guy in San Francisco, and he does stuff with them. He'll like scan and combine, and he creates like new pieces of artwork, but he uses just the vintage stuff, and he buys like $4,000, I think, is what the last figure he bought. He bought hundreds of items. I mean, he just occupied a good chunk of one of my employees for almost, I think it was like 6 hours pulling and packing and sealing. It was a lot of stuff. But he does this like once every maybe 3 months or so. And then I got somebody else that does similar. But these are people who buy that kind of stuff. I don't have that slow time. I don't want to speak and say I'm busy and all this stuff and have people be offended by me being busy and them not being busy. This is summer. You're going to have some slowdown if you sell certain items. I can tell you that without a doubt from what I see. Again, we sell stuff that most of what we sell is expendable income purchases. People don't need the money. They're buying just collectibles and stamps and comic books and stuff like that. It's not like a necessity. There's like a demographics of some sorts for the type of people that buy from us, and they're different than the demographics for somebody who might buy just strictly clothing or NOS stuff like that. It's a totally different group of people. I'm not meaning demographics as in race, creed, or any of that kind of stuff. I just mean in general, maybe so like what they're into, I guess, if that makes any sense. So don't worry at all. I don't worry. Right now we're up. I'm like 16% up from last month. And last month we were up, and we're up way from last year as well, too. Peggy Kinney, the art professor, watch your crafting site. It was vintage Christmas decorations. Well, thank you very kindly. Thank you very kindly, Peggy. I do a lot of that stuff. Hey, Dom, how are you doing? I just grabbed my phone again, and I saw your message on there. I will have to shoot you back on that. Yeah, and as I said, the background doesn't affect any of the quality. It's got to be YouTube, because it looks fine on my end, and it looks like it's, again, HD on my end. I don't know what it is on everybody else's, but yeah, it should be fine. Yeah, it's always annoying on these kind of things when stuff happens. Where are we at again? I'm sorry. I'm trying to catch up here. Yeah, Marty, yeah, it kicked in on my end. It's definitely 100% YouTube at this point. There's nothing I can do. I'm running fine on everything else, so it's got to be YouTube as well. Another one. Now your video is clean. Very well in Brisbane. Yeah, let's see here. Let me pop down just to look. Looks great here. Greetings, Earthlings. Hey, Craig, Landshark Pickers in the house as well, too. Good evening. My lips aren't in sync, so my sound is off. Yeah, it's definitely YouTube. There's nothing I can do about it at this point. Let's see, Kathy. eBay's still trying to verify my identity bank account approved. Okay, have uploaded like 99 times. Well, that's pretty annoying. You're in Australia, so it's kind of hard to say there, but here, every time I manually entered the card or my banking information, it kicked it back every single time. And then finally, I found a link to a direct, bank linkage, and it instantly accepted it, and I was done in just a matter of a second. What is InkFrog? InkFrog is something I'm using to link my eBay account to a Shopify store. InkFrog will duplicate all your listings and copy stuff. You can set up other different things. It's a tool. It does help me list faster, even if I wasn't doing Shopify. The hookup aspect of it is pretty darn good from my end. Does look like we're back on fine. Hang on just a second here. Boy, my feed's now it's got to be YouTube. My feed's all over again, just out of nowhere. David Mueller, how are you doing? Lexington, Kentucky. I actually worked in Lexington for just a little while. Gaddy's Pizza was there, and I worked for Gaddy's Pizza for a little while. Teresa, perfect on your end. Best time ever for online business opportunities. No excuses. I agree. Yeah, let's just go into the conversation. Thanks, Carl, for steering us back there. I do a lot of stuff that I never in my wildest dreams thought I would ever do, or even thought would be something you could do. When I grew up and when I was first starting out trying to find a job, there was no internet. There wasn't any of this stuff out there. There was no other way other than the traditional way. And that's how I grew up. There wasn't computers when I started in school. I mean, they didn't exist for home use, for school use, or anything. The first computer that I saw in business was in my sophomore year in high school, and it was green text. That was it. And all it did for the school, didn't do grades or anything, was for the newspaper. It was a editor for textual editor. Couldn't do graphics, couldn't do anything. That's where I grew up with in school-wise back in the early 80s. Well, mid-early 80s. And nowadays, though, it's totally different. I was hesitant to come into something online as a business, just because who would have thought, for where I come from and what I've seen in my days, not that I'm super old or anything else like that, but it's a big change these days. And just from playing around and doing what we have in the last so many years, we've been on eBay full-time 10 years, eBay more than 20 some odd years, 25 years, I think is what we were on there for. Um, things have drastically changed. As of this year, this is probably the biggest internet sales year we will see, or potentially see, as long as the economy doesn't totally collapse under us. There's more people online this year than any other time in the history of this planet. And it's not just like a YouTube or people putting videos or listings and stuff. There's all kinds of other atmospheric things you can do. I mean, it's a whole atmosphere of online reselling. We're doing toys. We're making our own toys right now in quantity that will be out 100%. We're able to produce them cheaply through online sources. We're able to print stuff through online sources. We're able to do graphics and artwork through online sources where they just show up and I just mail something out. It's just like wholesale. Same thing. I can buy wholesale online these days. I can sell business to business these days. We have a B2B account on Amazon. It's a totally different account set up than your normal selling account. It is something that you have to have added in and set up. But there's so many other options that I would have never dreamed about, even 3 years ago. Our revenue these days comes from, like a dozen different places, 13 different places, I think, as of right this very second. And it's all internet based. I don't even really need a local bank if I didn't want to. I mean, we have several local banks, but the point of it is everything is online. The opportunities now are so huge. It's not even funny. Like going around and just picking up stuff is great. I mean, I love sourcing and getting stuff to resell, but through doing this for the length of time that I have, we're getting away from that to some extent because there's so many easier ways to make repeat, steady income, replenishable income, and passive income as well, where I don't have to do anything. And again, I'm not relating to Amazon. I'm relating to selling and specifics like that. There's just so many different ways. I learned something new today. That's another example. I learned something new today that we were able to do that I never thought we could do again. And I'm going to do a video on something about that shortly here. I'm not going to release all the information yet, but it's something really interesting that I was really shocked on. For the people that I talk to a wide group of people, including people that are friends who sell online and stuff. I know people that just sell t-shirt designs and they make a living at that. We know people that just sell plushes. I know people that literally just run toy stores. I know people that, and these are all online sources. I know people that do miniatures. I know people that create their own models. I know people that do artwork. I know people that, and I know them, these are people that I converse with. I know people that literally, do public domain books. And I've talked about this. They'll literally scan them in, reformat them, and then push them out as a sellable item on a platform. It's just insane how much stuff you can do online these days. You don't need a traditional job for the most part. I worked in foods for 20 years. I'm just dumbfounded at where life has come for me, looking back at those days working, 80 hours or whatever the case may be. Now, I may do that still today, but I honestly and sincerely do love what I do. So it's not really work. It's hard to get that across to somebody else. It always comes off like all I care about is money, and it's all about money. It's all about money. It's all about money. That's all I ever hear from people. And you're BS, and you're not being honest. It's about freedom and being able to do stuff that I like. I don't really care as much about the money as I do the freedom. I'll give up money for freedom any day of the week, and freedom to do and take my business anywhere I want. If I worked for somebody else and had to rely on them to make sure the business was okay, right now I wouldn't have a job probably if I was still working in the same industries I was before. Most restaurants aren't open unless it's to go and things like that, even still to this day. I don't know how many people around there, that are living paycheck to paycheck who can afford to do this, afford to, still work in a brick and mortar and not take a paycheck. You just can't do it. Even the restaurants that I know have opened up, I heard they're running at like 45% of revenue prior to this. And a restaurant at that is barely breaking even, if they are even breaking even at that. So the opportunity online is more so than anywhere else in my book these days. I went to school to college for 6 years for a master's degree. It's something I didn't necessarily have to do because, again, the opportunities to sell online in general are just massive. I mean, I just can't express enough. Every time I turn around these days, looking into something, I do a lot of research. So I'm always researching where I can save a little bit here, where I can sell different items, where I can source different items. And there's so much more of that is just strictly online. Some of the clients that I've bought for Christmas items in bulk and wholesale and things like that, now I don't even have to meet with anybody. I don't have to talk to anybody. It's all just a simple email these days. Every part of our business is pretty much all online these days, other than, my bulk local vintage purchases. A lot of my business is stuff that I don't show you. A lot of our revenue is stuff like more than half of the revenue, well over half the revenue, is from things we do that you guys don't get to see. Guys, gals, I'm sorry, those of you out there. There's so much going on with the internet. It's just not even funny. There's companies that Duncan, I didn't see Duncan on today, but there's people that will just source for other people, and that's what they do for a living. There's like what would those be called? Geez, I don't even know what the technical term for those sourcers. I don't know, but there's a bunch of people that I know that do that these days. I buy or do designs. I'll send them off, and then I'll buy massive quantities of some of my own artwork and stuff, and then we sell those to other businesses as well too. That's something that's taking off for us, unrelated to reselling. Basically, it's a business to business. Back in the day, I used to have to sell like artwork and postcards and stuff like that, either locally and beat the path and go door to door, basically to some businesses and try to sell artwork that way. These days, I don't have to do that. There's just so many opportunities to sell in bulk online. Again, Amazon business to business is actually a good source. You can, if you're an artist, there's a huge opportunity. If you're a craftsman, there's a huge opportunity. Even for those of you who do want to do videos. Now, video-wise, it's going to take you a long time unless you have some major interesting thing, which I don't have, but that gets you in that top 2 or 3%. 97% of pretty much everybody on YouTube doesn't make enough to make a living at all. I think like these are numbers I read a few months back, but like 80 some odd percent, like 85% of people, aren't even probably making minimum wage doing YouTube videos. So I don't want to say, hey, do a bunch of YouTube videos. If you like it, it's great. We do make some money on it. It's not like super. Most of what I do comes from other sources again. YouTube is just, I like talking about stuff. I like talking. I like doing the videos. I like all that aspect of it. And we do get some money off of it. I do get some funds off of my Patreon page as well, too. Again, I do put a lot of time into it, so my time might be worth more than what I'm putting into it, but I do enjoy doing it. Again, it all comes down to enjoying it. If, like, YouTube gets to be where, I don't enjoy making the videos, I probably wouldn't do it anymore, regardless of the money. Just, that's my take on it. I'm not at that point, or not even anywhere near any thinking about that, but I just want to put that out there because, again, I'm not always out for the money like everybody else thinks and most people seem to be these days. Again, there's a ton of people who are watching who I've talked to enough to say that it's not about the money for everybody here. It's definitely not about the money for us, as I said. The family, security, and the whole works is so darn important. I would never be able to stress enough how our life has changed from the old days to they are today. I work all day long. I get up at dusk pretty much. When the sun's rising, I'm usually up. Last night I finished like at 11:30, and I'm not worn out at the end. At least last night I wasn't. I was more aggravated with a video editing issue than anything else. But you got to be willing to do the days. You got to be into it as well too. With the opportunities, as long as you're driven, you're motivated, you should just do fine. I mean, there's so many things that people can do, so many things to sell or swap around and things. Services. There's a site, and I don't think I have it right here, but there's a page where you can just charge people to record stuff in your voice for them. And I wished I remembered the name of it. I've got it saved on one of my laptops here. But so if you've got a great voice, you can make money doing that. There's a tattoo site that I do stuff with occasionally where you can design tattoos for people. Artwork, the same thing. If you're into graphics and you like doing graphics, you can do graphics online. It's basically like there's VAs, like a virtual assistant for almost any field that I could imagine these days. You can get an accountant as a VA even these days. I mean, it's just insane, the amounts. A lot of the people who I know who do make, in the same volume, price-wise, money-wise at the end of the year that we do, have a lot of that. They either have employees or they have virtual assistants. They have, multiple revenue streams. It's not just one. It's not just two. Most of the ones that I know are doing well have like a half a dozen or better sources of revenue. So if something happens to one, it's not a dead factor for you. Like if you're working at one brick and mortar store and something happens to that store, what are you going to do? Online, if something happens with one of my businesses, I've got another one sitting right there. What's the deal? I'll just push it, advertise or something. I was talking to somebody the other day, and if eBay shuts down for some reason, it's not going to kill me. We'll just switch over and start doing more of something else that we do. That's part of branching out, sourcing out, and expanding, not putting all your eggs in one basket. I can't say enough how much opportunity there is online these days. It's just insane. I don't even have to leave the house these days. I can get my food shipped in. Everything I do could be shipped in. I can even have gas delivered to my house locally by a company for $5 extra if I want to have somebody come out and pump gas into my car for $5. There's a source or opportunity online for everything. Whatever you do, crafters. I know a bunch of crafters who do stuff. I do craft stuff, as you saw. There's just so many. It's insane. This year, crafting online will probably be bigger than it ever has. Now, why is that? Because a lot of the crafts that people sell and they make and sell at like Christmas fairs and festivals, they probably aren't going to happen this year. The assumption is that they won't be safe to have that many people in a building. The craft shows that I've done and stuff, there's thousands of people there, and I do mean thousands. You're packed in there. I can't see those going on. So where are people going to get their fix on crafts? They're going to be buying them online. Etsy should do very well on crafts for Christmas and the holidays. Amazon, Homemade by Amazon should be doing well. eBay, of course, does fairly decent on some things. Look up ACEO cards if you want to see another crafting or art thing that we do as well. ACEO. That's all you got to type in, and you will see a whole new market. I've done video on that as well, too. I'm just dumbfounded when people tell me they don't know what to sell or what to do. I had a friend tell me that, and I was dumbfounded because of him telling me that. He's an artist. He's really good, and I said, why don't you try this or why don't you try that? And he never thought about it. He never thought you could make money. Now, he sells some of his artwork for hundreds of dollars at a pop. So he's making, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 starting off a week on average, at least $2,000. So that's not bad for starting off with something like that. Now, mind you, he's advertised and gone all different routes in there, but all of that is within everybody's reach at this point. With Google Shopping. You can list on Google Shopping. You can list on all of those sites right now through Google, and most of them are free. It just depends on what you're selling, of course. Some of them you can't do that with used and bullion and gold and stuff like that too. Kind of like eBay. But the opportunities are just horrendous. eBay shut us down on hundreds of listings. We lost, tokens, coins. Adult mags now, they didn't pull them all down. The only ones they pulled down were ones that were in the adult-only category. We sell mostly vintage 50s and 60s pinups, and apparently they aren't going to be touching those unless they're really bad-looking ones, I guess. So, I mean, overall, I'm not really bothered by losing 600-700 listings or whatever we lost. It doesn't matter. Again, I've got so many other things sitting right there that can just take the place. You guys have seen, I've got videos on our inventory. And again, I'm not trying to relate just to me, to everybody here. I can find anything. I could go out and find anything to sell. We went by a place that made leather harnesses and stuff for horses, and I bought a ton of that stuff. I could almost be their salesman and just sell that for 30 or 40% profit if that would be the case. We bought it all in clearance. It sold like the first 2 weeks. There's just so many opportunities. It's insane. there's a guy that I know that, I hooked him up with a sign shop. I didn't want to mess with the big stuff. This is true. This is something that happened. And he doesn't mind boxing up. He worked at a freight company, and they boxed up, and he's got all the tools and all this kind of stuff. He now sells all of they take down all the old signs. They take down signs that replace, company business signs and stuff like that. They had a huge junkyard of sign parts. He's been selling those like mad. He's now making a living from that sign shop. He's doing all of their sales, and he's making pretty darn good money, over 60 grand in profit after all said and done. He doesn't have to go out and worry about messing with it. He's not going out and buying anything because he's now got to deal with these guys. It's just their leftover junk. They would just give it to a local auction company who would sell it for whatever they can get out of it. He's selling it for top dollar now. So it's just another example. I know another guy around here that has a junkyard. Never was online, didn't think you could do the parts like that. Now half of his business, well, I think it's over half now, like 56%, I think was what he said last week, is from online sales. And this is prior to the pandemic. So it's not like, people aren't rushing out. It's been going that way for quite some time. It's easier to just source it that way online. Price-wise, it's about the same. He has more people working for him as well doing it this way because they just pull parts, and they'll just store all the alternators, they'll store this, they'll store that, AC, whatever they're pulling off, they've got it just stored now. He's invested in shelving, and it looks like my facility, but it's just big, huge bins and boxes of, this brand, AC Delco, whatever he's got. And it's all separated by what it is, alternator shelves and whatever else he gets. All the vintage parts are sold very quickly on there too. There's just so many sources. Even the bookshop that used to be out here is now fully online. And he's doing just fine. He's probably doing better now online than he had for the last 3 or 4 years as a local brick and mortar bookstore. I hate to see local stores shut down and stuff, but, he's still here. He's just doing it all online. People who know him, he still sells books to and stuff like that. But these are just a few examples of people I know. Again, I didn't start off to do any of this. I never had it in my mind that I was going to be a online reseller. I had no clue. To us, it was just some extra money on the side back in the day when no one else was selling stuff. We were one of those oddball people that did Yahoo auctions for 5 cents, and eBay came along, and that's where it's went to. This is not a planned, anything. But now that we've been full-time, we have planned everything from that point on because, again, there's just so many things. You don't have to do everything in the same day. You don't have to just go out there and do 100 different things at once. Start off with one and keep branching off. There's just, again, I wished you saw the sheet of opportunities that I've seen and all the people that I talk to show you the different varieties of things you could be doing now from your own house, your own business, your own building, whatever the case may be. Again, the opportunities are there. There honestly is no excuse other than you not willing or not being willing to put in the amount of labor and time, your own personal time that it would take. 40 hours for many people is not going to cut it. 60 hours a week may not get you to where you need to be. I can say, though, that working hard will get you somewhere. I mean, it's just the way things are. As long as you're smart about it, if you make mistakes, you learn from them and you don't make those mistakes again, you should do phenomenal these day and age. Most of the people I know who have dug into this, and again, I've had Patreons now for 1.5 years or so that I've talked to back and forth for that length of, probably longer than that. I think I've probably had some for almost the entire 2 years. Annie may be one of them, actually. She's on here too tonight. The point of it is, those who are digging into this, who thought this was going to be part-time, more and more people that I talk to are full-timers now. Again, we're now 2 years into me, on YouTube and this whole works and talking to people. So the numbers are growing. The numbers are growing who are full-timers. The numbers of part-timers who are returning to full-times is growing drastically from what I see. Once you've done this for a little while, you're going to figure things out. There's just no other way around it. You're going to figure things out. You do stuff long enough, you're going to be better at it. You're going to clearly know what you're doing better. You're going to think of other things that you may not have thought about before that. Let's hop over to some questions here and stuff. And we're going to throw out some sites to sell on as well in just a few minutes here too and talk about those, because Again, I check Google trending, and I want to shout out a trend that's going on as well in just a minute here. I got some figures, but I'm not going to shoot out the figures. I got a video come with some figures, but we're going to talk about those in just a second. Let's get into see if we have any questions here. Let's see here. Let's get past... Yeah, Teresa, I spent all morning dealing with financial aid for my son. Yeah, we've had to deal with a bunch of junk for my son as well, too. My oldest son, because he only needs 5 credit hours this session and 3 next time, he lost the scholarship. The scholarship's for 12 credit hours or more. So unfortunately, he lost like $4,000 this session that he was getting to cover it. You know, he's going for the chemical engineering degree, which is fairly expensive. He's got it paid off until now. Now he's going to have to shell out $1,500 by the 19th. He's got it, but it's not the point. It's just they cut him off now on something only because of his hours, because he's not able to get it. Part of the problem, he can't get it, though, they canceled a class because there wasn't enough people to sign up for it. So that's fairly upsetting to say that it's not his fault. Now he's stuck out of nowhere because he wasn't expecting this. He already had his total and everything was all set, and the class was canceled. My goal this year, hey Karen, how are you doing? Eduardo, my goal this year is to get 10,000 listings up. Just hired a VA to list, and we'll hire 2 more to help me get up quicker. Just be careful with the VA. I'm not sure how everybody sets it up if you're selling vintage and stuff with the photos. You're obviously going to have to upload photos to your Google Docs or something like that. I don't know. I'm not comfortable with doing a VA, honestly. I mean, if you've had great luck with it, more power to you. But I personally can't draw myself to do that, just because it's hard to put that trust out there. And then you've got issues with, are they doing a good job? And you got to go back and check every listing. And there's just so many other things involved with it. So I've been hesitant on doing that. Giving out information it's just one of my pet peeves, I guess. Collector is going to collect. That is 100% correct. Eduardo's just focusing on listing regardless of sales. That is good too. Again, if you can't afford to keep listing and you're not getting any sales, you might come to a point where you're wasting your time doing that when you should be doing something else. Just shoot that out there. School books, textbooks, homeschooling books selling great now. Yes, they are, Marty. Definitely so. I'll be in Cleveland next week for a few days. My return to Ohio. Not a big fan of Cleveland. Nothing really wrong with it, I guess. It's just a nuisance to get around in Cleveland, I guess. Have a safe trip, I hope, there, Marty. A&M Hunter, how are you doing this evening? I got CJ Spino. Hopefully you are doing well. There goes my feed. Let me see where I was. Hang on. We just lost my feed. Hang on just a second. Yeah, boy, we're way off. Hang on. There's a lot of good comments on here, and for some reason my feed just... Okay, it looks like I got it back to where we were. Let's see here. Kathy, oh yeah, banking rejected for ages, and yes, I did the bank link as well. All good, okay. ID, however, impossible. Okay. Do you have any guides to buying vinyl on Patreon? I got videos on buying vinyl. With records, if you don't know your records, the best guide I can tell you is to look them all up. Only look at grades that are VG plus or higher. That's the end of it. I wouldn't do anything under VG plus unless it's like a very expensive record. A Northern Soul in maybe a V minus or something, I might, or not a V minus, a G minus, I might. If it's a couple $1,000 record, I've sold broken records. I've sold records that were almost in half, and I have sold a record that was broken in half. It was Rocket 88 on a King 78, and I mean that record's like a $5,000 record if it wasn't broken, and we still sold it for a few $100s. Look them up if you don't know. A guide for records would basically just look like, for records overall, would just look like the price guide. I am working on a guide for 78s, but I've run into a stumbling block for a big long time, and I'm having a problem trying to source out the images to put in it. You gotta be able to see them, and that's my biggest problem. Just because I don't run into some of the records, the rare ones, or all the types, it's easier just to try and track down photos. And there's copyright issues, and apparently the people that are in the industry don't want outsiders, I guess they consider me, to share. They first were letting me borrow a few images, and then it turned into, no. So I've been getting a few here and a few there. It will be done one of these days. I got hours and hours and hours into doing it, so it's going to get done, I promise, but it is not in there yet. Part of it is, I should say. Let me pop down here. Hang on, just getting a few more questions. Ink Frog syncing well now to Aussie site. We had a bit of a hard time for about a week, but now it's working fine, so definitely eBay issue. Yeah, most of what I see is an eBay issue. TRS-80, Richard Rogers. Yeah, I remember those as well, too. That's a... hang on, where are we at? There goes my feed again. My sales are picking up after I completed my move to new home and been listing every day. Well, good to hear to Pamela. Annie, oh my God, that just reminded me that I was buying Apple 2E and LICs in my dream last night to sell, I would imagine. Nerd dream. Yeah, I remember the old days of the old computers, definitely. Let's get down. I know I'm behind. Let's see here. They brought computers into my school library in '94. Nobleness D. Yeah, they don't have them in my school library the entire time I was there. The only computers in my high school were literally my sophomore year were in the yearbook and newspaper staff, and then my senior year they were just now getting them into the offices. That was in the 80s, late 80s, mid 80s, somewhere in that range. Carl was like college prep, loved it. Way old tech, but it was the very beginning. Yes, it was. Still working in tech, and that was my only schooling in tech. Yeah, I have an IT degree, but I do it all for people that I know these days, and I set myself up with everything. I fix, repair, or do anything in the building, pretty much. I love IT, though. Yeah, Annie, once you understand how languages work, it's not that hard to learn another. PHP, Visual Basics, they're all the same. C++, they're pretty much all the same. Just like with HTML, CSS, and all that, cascading style systems and all that. That was simple once you understand it. Everything's nested with coding. So I've done very well with the computers and stuff like that. Everything I do here, as I said, I've written our own scripting and pretty much everything. I have Visual Basic apps that we've made for ourselves and C++ stuff. I don't take anything in for anything. And if there's something I can do or set up something, I do it all here. Everything. And I do mean everything these days. I know JavaScript, too. I took JavaScript in there. JavaScript's not so bad. It all ties in with CSS and the whole works. It all works together with HTML. I'm fine with JavaScript, too. I took MySQL, if you know what that is. That's the database program as well, too. I took any one that I could get into my schedule just so I knew as much. I figured it would help, but I don't use half of it, unfortunately. I did some public domain photos and turned them into postcards. They sell slowly, but it's a trickle that keeps coming. Yeah, with postcards, if you get the right ones, you can sell public domain images left and right. And don't push those just on eBay. I do far better on stuff like that on Amazon any day of the week than I do anywhere else. Because somebody will type in for, like, let's say a book or something specific, and that'll show up. And as long as your title's good, you can still get your items to show up in there. Like if it's a book, you can say author and have the name in there. You don't even have to put that it's a postcard technically in the title on Amazon. There's some things you can mess around with as long as you list what it is internally into the description of it. I haven't had any issues with doing that. Amazon is by far the best place for some of those. Like if you've got photographs or photo images of like famous people that's in the public domain, they do far better on Amazon from what I've seen. You may not get a ton of money for each one of them, but you're going to sell enough of them to make it worth your while. What we do for our art, if it's something along that lines, it's something I can mass produce, thousands of them. Literally, I only print so many at a time. Usually if you print like 1,000 of something, you get it dirt cheap. Sometimes if I'm just trying to feel the waters, I'll print 20, or not 20, I'll print 100 of something, and I'll gang print. So I might print like 7 different designs. And it runs around $20 for 100 different postcards if I do it that way, all shipped together. If I'm doing like 4x6s, it's obviously more. If I'm sending out like brochures or something, it's even more than that. Or like ad slick cards or something like that, it's even more. But you can print them in limited quantity, and then when they start to sell, you can just order another one. All your information's held with the companies that I deal with, so it's a replenishable. It's a surely a good replenishable. Again, you're not going to live off of one of those or a couple of those. Just like the people who do public domain books that I know. They've got hundreds of them. They do so many at a time, and they've got hundreds of them. And they'll do other things. They don't just do the books, most of them. There's a couple that I know that do them, but they write their own books, and they self-publish on Amazon as well, too, Kindle and all that kind of stuff, too. I've spent some time on it. I do have some books that were close to getting ready to go. I've talked about it before. Maybe somebody in Patreon's bugged me quite a few times. Maybe if I get a bunch more people asking, I'll post a chapter of my one of my novels that we've been writing. This goes back to college. I started this back in college, and I've been pushed by a professor to finish it. And anyway, long story short, if there's enough Patreons say something, I may give you guys a chapter of it. Let's go back. I want to get to as many questions as we can. Yeah, HTML, you're right. It is not code. I use the word coding as well, too, just for the aspect of what you're doing. It's not necessarily a code, but anything I consider where I have to type up and do stuff, most people just call it coding. I guess that's the gist on it. I took HTML in college, and I took CSS and JavaScript as well. I took PHP, so I took all that. Visual Basics, it all ties, they all work together. You can actually use them all together in doing one specific thing if you want to. Let's see here. But I get you, Carl. Technically, you are correct. Definitely so. They're all computer languages. Again, it's a language of sorts. C++, Visual Basic, it's all a language of sorts. Some of it would be called more or less scripting, like PHP. I only do scripting with PHP. He'll be all reaching out to touch someone. Yeah, another thing, Nobleness D here, it's about freedom in general. Yeah, most of what we do, most of what we've started into, most of what our business comes from, all of our revenue and stuff, you can almost get into it with no money. I'm not exaggerating. Little to no money whatsoever. I'll just give you the artist route. If you're a good artist or you have something unique and out there, outsider art is very hot right now. Outsider art. And if you've got some little niche or something that you're good at like that, you can start off small. A $20 investment in a limited run of postcards or art prints or something like that, marketed correctly, that $20 can net you thousands. And I'm not exaggerating. It's not exaggeration. We've made thousands off of one single drawing that I have done. One single drawing that's been mass produced. I've sold the same image to several different companies even, just like the Victorian trade cards that I sell on occasion. There's the same design you will find for many different businesses. I took that. I said, well, if they can do it back in 1870s and 80s, why can't I still do it? I do that same philosophy just because of those cards. That's not something somebody in college told me or anything else like that. That's only based on my personal experience selling stuff like that, and it sells very, very well. It just depends on the imagery and all that kind of stuff too, of course. So there's just a million different options for you to do something. Whatever you're good at, there's a site that will pay you to walk people through doing auto mechanic work on their car. If they can't figure it out, they can call you. You can do a live chat, and they can show you the car. You can show them the car, what you're looking at, and they can tell you unscrew this, unscrew that. There's a million different things. Somebody asked for I think I actually do have it on here. Somebody asked about the voice stuff. Hang on just a second here, because I do think I actually have that handy here. I know I saved it. Yeah, here it is. Fiverr, Fiverr. Will be a platform you can use to record voiceovers for people. In fact, let me just type it in here, because this is worthwhile. Somebody I've already talked to signed up for it, has already made money since he did this. And again, it's something that I just found out about. Again, I'm not searching for all these oddball services, but with some of the videos we've been making, we want some voiceovers and stuff we've been working on. So, but I just typed it in there. There's a ton of money being made on that platform, and all it is your voice. There's nothing else going on there. You're recording something that they want. You give them a script, you tell them the voice you want or the style that you want, and they produce it. That's it. It's just a service site. Just like the tattoo site that I've messed with. It's the same basic principle. Somebody will say they want a tattoo that looks like this. You'll put out a notice. This is what I'm thinking about. And then 4 or 5 people will throw a design up there. The best design wins. Just like in the real advertising industry. It's the best design that always seems to win it. So, you know, that's my take on it. There's just so many opportunities. If there's something that you're good at, and most people aren't good at, chances are you can make a living on it these days. These days. You know, cooking might be a little different in all. Like on Shark Tank, let's just say for a minute. There are a lot of people on there do food-related stuff. Sometimes they hit on it, and other times they say, well, that's like a tough industry. Foods is a tough industry. If you've ever worked in a grocery store as a manager or something and seen the margins on some of the products, like groceries, it may only be like a 3-cent margin. You're making a 3-cent profit on like a pound of grapes and stuff like that. By the time you have shipping, storage, loss, spillage, or something like that, you don't make a lot of money, but you got to carry it. Like one of the companies I worked for was Pilot. It's a truck stopping company. In some states, they run stores, and the gas prices, they're on consignment to some of the big companies like J.B. Hunt or something like that, which is a main. They have thousands of trucks on the road. Just for an example, just one company people may have heard of. Swift, another one. So basically, they'll run stores, 3 and 4 stores in one city alone, where they're losing money on every one of those stores and gas. But overall, for the national wise, they're making money on it. So there's some things that, you know, I carry in some of our other businesses that you guys may not necessarily know about, but there's some items that we barely make a dime on, but the items that go with it, we make a ton of money. It's like selling like an app that has to be updated every other month. You know, you get the money on the updates or on the extra add-in fees. You're not making the money necessarily on the app. Most apps they give away, and then eventually there'll be charges, 99 cents to get more lives or whatever the application is, games specifically. So, you know, the opportunities are just massive. I mean, I just can't believe that there's people out there that have talent that aren't using that on the internet. You know, it's just insane. Like knitting, showing people how to knit. There's YouTube videos that have, you know, like 1 million views on how to knit. You know, now something like that, if you're good at it and you're a great orator, which I am not the best orator, not the best speaker and stuff like that, you can make a lot of money, you know. Again, there's just so many opportunities. Let's pop back and see what kind of questions we got in here. Picking NW, do you have any videos on your whole photography process? I've got a bunch on what we do. I mean, there's not much to it. I have Nikon D5300s, and I've shown them. You can see them on my stand. They're sitting on a stand 24/7. I never remove them from the cam stands, and I've got like 5 or 6 of those now. It's a permanent, not permanent, I guess it's not permanent at all, but it's a permanent area that I always use for paper. I've got one for big objects and the whole works. So we've got several cameras, one mounted here, the lights are there, it's a quick fix. I am working on a video just to kind of show you a quick rough over, you know, from start to finish in that aspect, but I don't know how much in depth you're looking to get into. There isn't much to it once you figure out where the lights need to set. I'm shooting straight down, you know, there's no angle shots or anything else. It's full straight down, you know, exactly horizontal basically to the deck, the photographic bed there, I guess you could say. Once you get it set up, you're done. I don't use a phone, and I know I was on Dom, we were talking with Dom on his show just the other day. Well, he was on my channel too, but and we were talking, he loves the phone. And I know a lot of people say it's much easier, and it just instantly goes to your laptop, or you list from your phone. I can't list from my phone. I hate that. Just me. Nothing wrong with if that's good for you, but I just do so much stuff to try and type it up and type letters and do business on a phone is just impossible. I can't do it with the volume we were doing. And for like the camera wise, It's Wi-Fi. They're all Wi-Fi. I can just Wi-Fi into my laptop if I want. But we honestly save everything on an SD card. Everything on an SD card. If you do want to take it somewhere, I've sometimes taken my laptop and listed things in a restaurant before, eating lunch or something, just because I wanted to get out and do something different. SD card everything. We've got like 100 and some odd SD cards with stuff on them. SD cards are always the way to go. There's not much once you get to that point. Once you set it up, once you know where the lights need to be and you have a stand, it's easy. I try to scan, though, everything that I can. Again, we have a duplex that scans both sides. In fact, I'm going to put a video together. I've had so many questions on showing the duplex scanner. I have shown them all in Patreon, and so all the patrons, if you want to know, you just type in scanner on the tags in Patreon, and it'll take you right to all the scanner videos. I don't think I'm missing any tags anymore. We went through most of our videos. For those in Patreon, too, I know there was some issues on commercials. I have got a lot of the commercials turned off. I didn't realize that you would even see them as an unlisted video. It's just set to automatically have it on in every video I upload, so I never even thought that it would be something. So I do apologize for those in Patreon, but you won't see commercials on anyone going forward, and we're removing them as we get through and go through, because they have to be one by one done now to fix that. So anyway, that is being fixed. Yeah, Annie too, talking about HTML and CSS don't act like a programming language. They don't. It's CSS is cascading style. It's basically, well, I don't want to go into a bunch of technical stuff, but it's like a style for the page kind of thing. They work together, as does JavaScript, but it is not a language. It technically isn't at all. But I always call it coding. I've always called it, even in college, the professor called it coding. Just what I'd say. Peggy, yes, that is what I want, is free to move and live where I want. This is why I watch. Yeah, freedom is honestly the best thing I can say I ever got out of reselling is freedom. Without a doubt, the life-changing aspect of it, to be able to stop and do anything I want whenever I want, to not worry about, you want to do something or work late into the evening, you're not going to have to worry about getting up early and going to work or anything like that. I never have to worry about setting the alarm clock, because I always wake up, at a certain point anyway. Back in the day, I'd always wake up nervous. Did the alarm go off? Did I forget to set the alarm and things like that? Just for your own mental stability and mental health, it's a huge relief off of life's normal worries to not have to worry about an alarm or going somewhere for a job. I can't... I'm just so grateful. I can't express enough how our life has changed. And I honestly and sincerely mean that in every aspect of life in general. Everything has changed for us just by doing this. And that's more important to me than having a fortune in the bank. We're doing very well, so don't get me wrong. But we gave up a lot when we had kids. And the wife didn't work. We could have made more money. I could have been better off and stuff like that. A family was more important, and as much of the family that could stay together during the day and everything else is what we strive for. If I would have thought about it back then, if I was reselling back when we were having kids, I'd probably be able to retire right now, in all honesty, because, I've picked this up, and I'm not trying to say I'm something great, but, in general, if you are like I am, and this is your biz, you can see how it would have been 20 years ago. When we first started 25 years ago, or whatever, I think it's like 25 years now, you could sell anything for good money, like insane amounts of money, and there was never an issue with it. Hang on. Sorry, I think we're a little low. I'm deprived on light today. Let's pop back to some questions. I know I ramble a lot. My master sits in a drawer, tucked away, was useless for a job. I'm 100% doing online now. Learned so much in the last month. Yeah, I got you there on the month. I put my master's on the wall. I'm glad I did it. I'm just going to say that. I'm glad I went to college. No one can take it away from me. I learned a lot of stuff that I think is helpful overall in understanding stuff. I took business classes. I took accounting classes. I took history classes, which have immensely helped me with vintage stuff. And not just U.S. history. I took Japanese history. I took some military history classes. Lots of just oddball stuff for my master's. I took all kinds of interesting classes. I took classes on religions, world religions, on spirituality. I took classes on mythology. It all honestly, sincerely helps with what I do. I mean, it just does. Sociology classes help out. Just in general. I mean, even poli-psych and stuff like that. Any of those classes. You know, even some of the political geared classes help you, not necessarily with politics. It helps you with being able to, it's almost like a boost in marketing in my book, because the politicians in general are basically marketers and trying to gain money for re-election. So it does help you to some extent, just, you know, at least it helped me. Everything that I took in college, I took for specific reasons, and I do feel that I would still do it again, even if I'm not going to be using that degree as a business. I think it's personally helped me see things in a different light, money-wise, company-wise, business-wise, not worrying about certain things and stuff like that. It honestly, I've grown up, I guess. I was still immature in many ways on things that we did, and I wasn't financially great sometimes with setting up, you know, our banking and stuff like that. Nowadays, everything's down to the T, but I didn't start off that way. Let's pop back in here. I need to double down on online income. We've tripled down. For me, like, I get into something, and that's all I can think about. And what's driving, like, my whole mental state right now is just advancing my business. I literally, I eat, sleep, drink, everything I do pretty much. It's really hard sometimes to turn that off for me. I've got OCD really bad sometimes. And I do have attention deficit disorder to some extent too, so it's a big fight. It's great to be able to always want to do this, but it's hard to turn it off. So I'm always into this. I can feel we're like on the cusp of breaking that next level. I mean, we were so darn close to stepping up a level. It would be like those wanting, like Eduardo wanting to hit 10,000 listings. I can almost guarantee you that as long as those listings are good items, his business is going to change if he gets 10,000 listings up by the end of the year in revenue-wise. I am like at that point now. We've already hit that 10,000. We've already hit the 50,000, and we're well past those numbers now. I can see the next plateau, which we're I mean, just inches away. So I feel weird if I don't push myself every single day these days. It's a weird feeling, and again, it's for us. It's all mine. Everything I make is all mine. There's nobody that can come in and say, hey, you're not going to get to keep that. It's not yours or anything else like that. It's all from online. Everything is online. It's just insane the amount of money that's available out there to earn. I've earned every dime we got. No one else. I didn't earn it from working for somebody else. I earned it for myself with myself. And for those of you who are proud of when you do some major accomplishment, that's the feeling I get all the time. Because again, I'm feeding my kids. I'm putting a roof over their head. Cars, everything else that comes in here is all because of online business. Everything. And again, if I flip this back 10 or 15 years ago, working in a restaurant and stuff, it's like night and day. It's insane. I can't believe I did that all that time, 20 years, when all this time this business was sitting here for me. It's like I had an epiphany one day, and I said, you know, let's just not even worry about going to a brick and mortar and working that way anymore. Let's see if we can do it this way. And sure enough, and this is before, you know, YouTube was around and there were people doing videos on this. I didn't learn it from somebody else's video. This is just from trial and error, you know. I know there's a lot of good YouTubers out there. There's a bunch of good YouTubers out there. I'd never like to criticize another YouTuber, so I'm not gonna say what I was gonna say, but just be careful on the information that you follow with some people, just because a lot of people aren't into it like I am. And again, I'm not trying to get everybody to down somebody else. The point is that this is what I do, and this is what I'm into. I would still do eBay if I wasn't making a living off of it. I did it while I was a manager for somebody else. And even if I would say I wasn't making a fortune off of it or even making real good money, I probably would still do it because I enjoy the historical. I enjoy what I do. I just can't express that enough. You really got to enjoy and love this to be super successful, I should say. You can be fairly successful, I would say, but once you push yourself so far and you're not totally into it, it's going to be a drag. I can tell you, because I know people that are burned out from just a couple years of doing this. I know some people recently that were very nice, and they said their goodbyes because they just couldn't afford it. They've tried this for almost 9 months, and they're not paying their bills, and they're going into debt, and they gave up reselling. I don't know. They're not local, so I couldn't go in and look at their business to give them a hand, but it's going to happen to some folks. You got to have the want for this. Even if it's not necessarily the want to do this, you've got to have a reason, a drive, some factor in you that makes you want to do this. Freedom for me. I can't get that enough into everybody here. Again, it's freedom. It's not me making a fortune off this. Again, I make a very darn good living these days off of reselling, and then we do other stuff as well too. Again, I've got like 13 revenue streams these days. It's a far cry from the days of working for one person, one business, and that was my only source of revenue, my only source of income. 13 is just phenomenal. 6 is phenomenal for those of you who are only certain platforms. Let's go and talk about platforms. Mercari, again, it's a decent platform. I've done some searches on trending. Mercari is trending. It's been increasing, even on like Instagram. Poshmark trending, but you want to know that Mercari is trending higher than Poshmark right now. Mercari is one of those that has potential to really, roll some heads here. It could do way more than most of the other platforms are doing now. It's a Japanese site, if you didn't know. It's a decent platform. I've played around with it. I don't list any of my stuff on it, so to speak. It seems to be a lot more younger folks on there buying stuff. Again, no, nothing meant by that. It's just, so the items that I sell just don't seem to be of interest as much as home goods and some of the other stuff I see selling on there. Bonanza. Now, Bonanza is a free, usable site that you can import all of your listings in there at no cost. Some people have a good result on it, and some people don't. It just depends on what you're selling. Ruby Lane. If you're selling vintage and collectible antiques, chances are, if you've been doing that for a while, you've heard of Ruby Lane. Ruby Lane has some niche areas that do very well. Costs are higher. But again, these are all options that you can use depending on what you sell. You can sell on some of the platforms like Abe's Books and things like that, some of the major book platforms. You can sell on Amazon if you don't have an Amazon account. If you only sell wholesale and stuff and you'd like to continue to sell wholesale to businesses, you've got B2B on Amazon. You can do self-publishing on Amazon. You can do, homemade items, just like on Etsy on Amazon, homemade by Amazon. You can sell homemade on Amazon. You can sell your crafts on Amazon. You can sell vintage toys and collectibles on Amazon, or not on Amazon, on Etsy. We're talking about on Amazon. Yes, I sell all of those things as well too. But you're going to do probably a little better if you're just starting off or doing regular crafts on Etsy. Walmart. You can sell NOS. You can sell wholesale on Amazon or on Walmart as well too. I mean, these are just a few of the ones that are out there. There's the Hip platform. They've got Hip stamps, Hip comics. They've got Hip postcards. You've got Del Camps does stamps. I don't think there's Discogs, records. Whatever you want to sell, there's specialty sites on it as well. Reverb, musical instruments. That's why eBay's fees are cheaper for certain things. Like the lowest fee on eBay, final value fee is for sneakers now. And then guitars. Guitars have always been the lowest. And in fact, I think guitars, you don't even have to pay to list them anymore because they're combating some of the other sites. I'm just giving you out the main site names that most people have heard of and probably use. Again, Mercari, Poshmark, Bonanza, Etsy, eBay, Amazon, Walmart. Discogs if you're into records, and there's, again, Hip and a bunch of other stuff as well, too. Again, there's probably another 15 sites that I personally know of that we have touched on personally in the past as well, too, to do all kinds of specifics. Like the Fiverr I gave you for, your voice. You can sell your voice. You can just record for a living. Again, it's not going to be, you start off, you put your name on there, and you're going to instantly be selling stuff. Look at that site and see how many people are on that. It's phenomenal how big that site is, and most people haven't a clue about it. All you're doing is speaking. You're not doing anything different than that. There's dozens of sites that have services just related to you as a persona, either by voice, by character, by face, or anything like that. There are sites that will pay you to just hold objects with your hands if your hands are like a modeling style hand, believe it or not. There's just so many different things out there to do. It's insane. And even if you're not necessarily doing everything online, there's opportunities locally to do the same types of businesses that you do online locally too, if you're not necessarily able to find, certain connections or certain hookups online. I do some local stuff with my artwork and some certain local things business to business locally, only because it's instant money. When I deliver, I get my money instantly. I don't have to wait for anything. There's no refunds. It's in their hand, it's delivered, and it's done. And sometimes I work with specific businesses around here, and I'll do certain things just for them. So, there's just so much things you can do. Again, Balto, if you're not killing yourself and you're not overworking yourself, I always tell people to double down if that's what it takes. Duncan's not in. Scouts. I don't know if it's technically scouts or treasure hunters. There's another name for it. When I worked at Cracker Barrel, they have a company, a business that just buys all the tin signs, and they've got a warehouse with like thousands of vintage tin signs. And there was a name. It's not necessarily a purveyor, but geez, there's a name for it, like a specific business corporate used name, and I can't think what it's called. I'm in trouble. I heard my name called out. No, you're fine, Duncan. With buying a new home, everyone is doing text. They don't even come to house. They do it all over the phone. Yeah, I've heard that too. Let's see here. There is nothing wrong with being a profitable enterprise for the money. Oh no, Liquidation King LA, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it at all. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to mock or criticize anybody who's doing it just as their business. This is my business. But my main goal of doing this business is not to make, to be a multi-millionaire. If it happens, I'll be happy as can be, but that's not my end goal. My end goal is to be able to do what I want when I want, and to be with the family and not have to worry about specifics or jobs or bosses. I've had some terrible bosses. Some that did stuff that should have put them in jail, some things that put people's lives at risk, and just on and on and on. Even working at Disney. I saw a manager, cut somebody's finger off when he hit a ride and started a ride. And everybody was yelling, don't do it. And he knew better than everybody else. And sure enough, something bad happened. But that's just one of those things. I don't want to work for somebody else. I'm not cut out for that anymore. When they tell me to do something and it's just a stupid decision, I just feel I can't do it. I just don't take orders that are bad very well. It's terrible when people tell you, hey, do this. You got a new boss or something. He doesn't know what he's doing. He just came in and he thinks he knows everything. I just don't like that. Let's see here. Yeah, Tina V. There's nothing wrong. I'm not criticizing anybody for making, trying to make money or anything like that. But that is not my specific goal, I guess. Obviously to pay my bills and stuff, but my mind isn't occupied by being rich. It's not occupied by that. It's the freedom. Again, I'm to a plateau, so I want to get to the next level and up my whole business another step. But again, that's just for, I guess, more so for gratification. I'm hitting a goal that I've set, so many months back. And once I hit that, I'll feel, it's like a rush. It's like Jerry Maguire when he's got Free Falling playing. I'm sure most people have seen that movie. It's a total, it's like a high, without having to do anything. It's just a total rush seeing you hit that successful point. At least it is for me. Again, I got that drive and the vision of what I want. And I can't let off the gas on it. It's not, so to speak, for the money. I honestly don't even, worry about the bank and compare, bank accounts, say, hey, I need this much in there. It's not the concern. It's coming in and I feel good about what's going on. I feel healthy. I don't have the worries or the concerns. It's a huge weight off your shoulder not having a boss. That's the biggest relief I can tell you. It's just horrendously, incredibly fulfilling to know that you're doing it all yourself. That's the best I can say. Let's see here. Thank you, Tina. Thank you, very kind. Crystal, would you really like the voice service lead, please? And thank you. No worries. Any video in next 5. Yeah, I'll think about that. We're looking for some. I've got somebody locally that does some really good voices, and you will probably hear some in some future videos. Maybe not on this channel, but I like character related, like cartoonish characters. So we're working on that. Yeah, diversifying revenue streams is huge. I had social distancing down before it was vogue. Yeah, that's me, Carl. I'm not a big people person out in public. I'm quiet and keep to myself mostly. Kathy was making face masks for a while, but concentrating 100% on listing on eBay right now. Duncan's doing a good job for you there, looks like, Kathy. Shepard, how are you doing? In Africa. That's pretty interesting. Good to have you in. Eduardo, you have a toy junkyard, yes. I needed to ask you if you had some parts, actually. I'm looking for some pieces for Weebles, actually. Kathy, listing is my life. I'm totally into this. This is, again, I eat, sleep, breathe, drink. Everything I do is tied to my reselling business. And I'm not just saying that. I can't go out anywhere. Even if I went to Walmart today. I had to get some things. Again, face masks, social distancing, and the whole works. I said I'm just going to be in and out. I had stuff to do. I had people coming over. I got employees that all want to get as many hours in before college starts back up. So I've been busy from left to right. They had toys marked down. I spent way more than I should have there looking for RAs and stuff, RA stuff. Man, you know, you can't do it. You can't go out when you feel this way, and you're always seeing that better deal and that deal. You just can't go out anywhere. You know, I went to Sherwin-Williams the other day. And of course, they had markdown stuff there. Again, you know, wherever I go, there's I can't even, I haven't been in the mall in a long time, but even if I go to the mall, I find stuff to RA. Even when I'm trying to just be out with my wife and kids, that's all I can think about. It's totally, every, you know, speck of my existence is thrilled at reselling. It's weird to me. Let's see here. Listing is my life. We got there. I saw antiquarian and vintage books. Nicholas Tracy. I love vintage books. Nothing wrong with that. Takes a while and a lot of work. I've always been interested and have tried and tried and tried for years. Let's see here. Let me pop down here. Kathy, hopefully my mistakes are behind me now. Really starting to focus on a few areas. Focusing on areas is key when you're first getting into it, in my personal opinion. Again, when you're first starting out, buy anything you can that makes you money, but eventually you're going to need to focus in on special areas where you know a lot about those. Once you know one area, you got to know 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean, I learn anything I can, any area. We sell in like 60 different categories. I mean, some horrendous amount. For most people, only selling a handful, it seems, these days. I don't care what it is. I mean, I know business equipment. I know the food industry. So any equipment in a restaurant, retail establishments. I know the art industry, all the art collectibles, the art supplies, packing supplies, electronic supplies, video merchandise, entertainment collectibles, historical, anything you can know. You learn as much as you can, and then you expand out another item, another item, another item, another category, another category. There's some categories that obviously we did clothing. People know that. There's some categories that I don't care to deal with anymore. I don't like clothing. I'm not a clothing seller. I just don't like selling it. I'm not saying we didn't make money. I just didn't like it. I don't like selling high-end electronics because I'll always be worried about returns and scammers and stuff. And you're talking big money. I'm fine. I'm happy with lesser value in most cases because it's constant. It's constant. It's passive. Once it's listed, it's done. My guys today listed a whole bunch of items. We've been listing in specifically die cuts. We're up to, I think they've scanned now 1,262 different lots, one at a time on a flatbed. And I mean, it's a big moneymaker. They did work. They scanned for days. They listed for days. And then once the stuff was listed that same day, within a few hours, all of my investment into my employees, every dime of labor that they sunk into it was immediately paid for, and I already had a profit back. On the very first day, we sold like $900 just the other day in just those items. You know, there's just so many opportunities. I had Dom on, and we were talking about listing and stuff. Again, I gang list everything. I stage it. I'll list like items. When you list like items, you sell like items. So that day, the right person was on at the right time. Somebody who's been buying from me for a while, they saw that I put a whole bunch of stuff up. They bought $900 worth that day. Another person last night bought one specific item for $140 and then bought a handful of other items. And that sales there was around $1,400 just from those two people in one day. That's one single item from listing those items. You list together, you know what's hot. Now, I know those are hot right now because what people do, again, they'll scan them, they'll make other items for them. All my Christmas die cuts are flying out. We're now pulling out, and after they get, it looks, I originally thought we were going to have like 900 of those items. We're going to have around 1,200 done that will be listed, and another 1,200 probably, because I got a whole other box of them in. So we're going to move, when that's done, to get the rest of the Christmas die cuts from the 30s and 40s. I'm going to be listing all that stuff needs to go up now. It's all quick movers. It's all areas that I learned that I never used to sell in before as well, too. 10 years ago, I never sold those. Again, your business is going to morph from one thing to another. Why don't we call a thing for the thumbs up? If you haven't hit the thumbs up, I'm looking. We've got over 200 people, and I've only got 71 thumbs up. I know we had some issues in the beginning. Looks like YouTube has fixed itself, so we are running better now. If you haven't hit the thumbs up and you're enjoying the conversation, please hit it. It does help the channel. I really love to get to at least 100. I think yesterday before the show ended, or not yesterday, Tuesday, we hit, I think it was 139 or 137. But if you're enjoying it, please hit that thumbs up. It really does help the channel, at least for recognition. Let's hop back to the comments here. Carl, last 6 years, boom. Now I'm branched out. Online sales, bought my house in Florida, and paid for my move. Different world. Yeah, it's a different world for us. We were waiting to move here to a bigger, with our own, we want a studio in there and all that, but with everything going on, I'm not doing it right now. But we were waiting for my youngest to get out of high school, so we didn't have to move his high school. So now we're free and clear. You may see us within this year, not this year, I guess, within the next 12 months, I should say, going and starting to do, bulk purchases and pallets and stuff like that. Now, I'm going to be very specific on what we deal with, but, that was something we didn't want to worry about until I didn't have to worry about my son going to a different school for his last year or something. So we're going to be doing that same thing as well soon here, too. Well, thank you, Rosemary. Yeah, on Patreon, I have video, I think it's 182, I think, is going up today. As soon as the show's done, I'll reprocess it, and it'll be up before I go to bed. I may not have time to answer anybody today, but I'll get to them tomorrow. I know Marty's got one in there. Hopefully you got that all set up too, Marty. If you have any questions on that, just let me know. I know you were talking a few minutes ago. I think you're still on now. But again, there's just opportunity galore. Let's go back over here. Again, thank you, Rosemary. Let's see. Yeah, here's a good one from Carl. The thing is, tomorrow's promised to no man, so you have to find and chase something you enjoy. Again, I enjoy this. I know Carl does, just by the conversations I've had and some of the comments he's made. I love what I do. I can never express it enough. So it's for me, sitting, editing a video or listing something or sorting something down at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. It's no big deal. I mean, it doesn't bother me. Last night at 10... I think at 10 something, I just finished uploading a video that took me 2.5 hours to finish editing. The Christmas video, I tried some new stuff. I did green screen differently, and I had a glitch that took me forever to figure out. So it took 2.5 hours to edit that, 13-minute video. That's the kind of thing. I don't just like turning on a GoPro and doing it. If I'm going to do it, I'm very anal retentive about things. I got to do it the way I want to do it, even if it costs me more time. Again, because I like what I'm doing, so I'm not worried about the time. They don't always get great views if you do stuff and sink that time in it, but that's me. I'm not trying to rush anything. Let's see here. Let me pop back over here. I lost my job again thanks to COVID, so I am now doing this absolutely full time and not doubting myself. Yeah. I was worried when we first started that, hey, I'm not going to be able to make enough money doing this. How the heck am I going to pay my bills selling junk online? I was nervous and thought, oh my God, what am I doing? I'm risking my whole family and the whole works. 3 years in, we were just finally seeing it. I kept up this. I struggled for 3 years. I mean, we paid our bills, my kids ate and stuff, but we weren't living high on the hog, I should say. It was not quite week to week in it was still rough, but once we figured everything out, it's just like somebody flipped a switch and everything just started flowing. It was like somebody turned on Niagara Falls out of nowhere. In fact, I think they have Niagara Falls blocked off now, if I'm not mistaken. I would really appreciate links for motion graphics and online marketing ideas. I'm not sure what you mean by motion graphics. There's tons of Pixabay. You can get a lot of motion graphics if that's what you're talking about, or stuff like that. Online marketing, there's a ton of different things. I do videos, and will have one on the whole Google platform and all of the Google advertising there. It's going to come down to what you're doing as to what type of marketing you need. I mean, without knowing what somebody's selling, it's really hard. Most marketing, if I'm going to do something and I'm trying to market a specific item, I'm going to source down where the best place to advertise. If somebody's doing a search for a specific word and that word's in the item that I'm using, I'm going to use that aspect for it and going to gear it down. Like if you're advertising on Facebook or something, you can gear your advertisements down to like specific groups and things almost. So you can advertise like eBay advertises on our videos and stuff. They know that, hey, they specifically target our videos. I have people telling me eBay commercials are in my videos sometimes, or on some other platforms that I'm on, they'll have eBay stuff show up on there too. Again, eBay knows what they're doing. It's the same principle. I do the same thing. Let's pop down. How do you find pickers and sourcers in your area? Rob, I've talked about it before. I do have a video up, I think, here on YouTube, and I just did one on that exact topic on Patreon. I literally, word for word, spoke literally how I got into it. That's a long story, so you might want to source down that video. Just type in pickers, I think, in my feed, and you should be able to find something. Yeah, I know I'm behind. I can see the scholarship comment from Kathy. Yeah, I haven't grown up until recently. Some days it seems. Kathy's son is doing his final year too. Yeah, my son needs 3 classes. He's got 2 that's 5 credit hours this session, and then next year, the beginning, the last session, he's got 1 class for 3 hours, and then he's done. Hey, Michelle, how are you doing? Oh, my feed's locked. Hang on just a second. Let's see if anything bad happens. Oh, I'm not too bad on my feed. Hang on here. Looks like we got the likes going up. I thank everybody who hit the like button. 112. Thank you very kindly. Hang on. I've lost my feed, so we're just going to pop wherever I'm at instead of spending an hour trying to find out. Oh, I think I got it back. Hang on. How would you grow your business, Eduardo? Again, I gave you some advice there on that, Eduardo. I'm going to be talking to Benny. I'll run it by him and see if maybe there's something you can do on that behalf too. I know a lot of people that probably buy stuff from him. Actually, collect vintage toys too would be my guess. You might even well, I'll talk to you. Drop me an email, Eduardo, and I'll give you some other ideas that I've had on that too. Just because you're bulk like me, I'll give you some good ideas on that. Send it in Patreon too, Eduardo. I would set up a pretty locked down virtual machine for a VA. I mean, I've done the VA. I've talked to VAs and stuff, and I've talked to people personally who are, using VAs and stuff. It's more to it than just something like that. They have access to some extent, and I'm just not there to allow a virtual assistant. Could I come out ahead? Yeah, I sure could. But I'm not to a point where I feel comfortable with that. Just personal opinion. Teresa, I know you Let's see. I know you always say list good stuff. What do you consider good stuff? Stuff to me that's good is stuff that makes me, at the end of the day, an 80% profit. I try to get it in that mark. 80% is what I shoot for these days for everything. If it's, I'm going to buy something for $1 and make $100, that's a good item. I don't sell stuff it's going to cost me a lot of time. Let's say I bought a shirt, and the shirt was $3. It sells for $12. It's going to cost me a lot of time to list. It's got a lot of issues that I could have with a return. Somebody doesn't fit it. That's not a good item in my book. A $12 shirt that I paid $3 for, that I probably have to use free shipping. I'll probably have to, just do one flat, $12 price, shipping included. It's just not worth it for me. I want to make a certain amount. I don't care if I have to list a $10 item, as long as I'm making that 80% off of that item. And again, my 80% is bottom line 80%. My total profit on it, net profit of 80%. I'm talking about after my fees, after the COGS are paid for, after my taxes, after my labor is paid for, I still walk home with 80%. Again, 90 some odd percent of our stuff is bought in bulk. So I'm paying, and I'm not exaggerating, pennies for almost anything. You could go through my store and probably almost any item in there costs $1 or less by purchase price for them. No lie. If I spend a lot of money on something, chances are I'm going to sell it really quickly. Otherwise, I wouldn't have spent the money on it. It doesn't have to be every item you sell $100. But my $10 items, I'm only paying pennies for. So it's $8 probably at the end of the day I'm walking home with in pocket. That's pretty good for me. That's a good amount. I'm not upset with that type of amount at all either. 13% is basically going to final value fees. And I know that's on my the tax and all the money collected totally. I offset all of that though. I charge for shipping. I get a discount on shipping. I do not give that discount to my buyers. They pay full cost. That discount covers my fees on shipping, on taxes, and all that stuff. If you want to offset it as well, I've got a 30 cent handling fee in there that offsets the 30 cents that managed payment charges as well too. So, I'm not putting any extra into it. And if you want to say, hey, well, you're not counting the eBay listing fees. Right now, my listing fees are almost nothing. It's like 0.0001%. Like a hundredth of or a thousandth of a penny per listing, basically, because I get so many of them for free now. So it all works out. That's a good item to me. If you can get 80% in anything, you're good to go. If you can get 50%, that's pretty darn good as well too. But if you're, again, buying a $3 item, you pay $3 for, you're only going to sell for $12. It's going to cost you 15, 20 minutes to list. You might have a return. That's not a good item in my book. Now, I'm not trying to say don't buy clothing or anything like that. I always did well on jackets. I always made my money on jackets. Every jacket I think I've ever purchased, I've done extremely well in. I do keep a lot, unfortunately, because I do love leather, vintage leather. But, hopefully that gives you an idea. Value-wise, how much money you're making. Your cost of goods is huge, and that matters more than anything else. If you can get your cost of goods down where you're still going to make a huge chunk of profit on it, that's a good item. Hey, Steve, how you doing this evening? Things are doing well, other than the college issues. Yeah, I guess I've bounced around a little bit here. Question. My views are very, very small, and I think it is because I was listing in the middle of the night. So the roll around question, statistically, is there any time of the day when it is best to schedule all? I don't see as time of day has any bearing whatsoever to do with it if you're doing a bin. If you're doing a buy it now option, I don't see any difference whatsoever. All what matters is that the right person is on at the right time. The list time means nothing. It's not like back 10 years ago when auctions were the whole world and you had to list on a Sunday and end it on a Sunday because most people were home on a Sunday. Back in the day when auctions ruled the world on eBay, which is what was the mainstay for eBay for a decade or whatever the case may be, I always listed on Sunday evening. We tested it. We did all that stuff. Sunday evening was always the best. Everybody was home. More people were off that day. Less people worked. Everybody did all church and family stuff usually in the morning, and they relaxed in the evening, and that was usually when I did the best business. So I'd run a 7-day auction. Nowadays, it doesn't matter if it's a bin. I don't care when I list. If I get up in the middle of the night and I can't sleep, it's 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, I do sometimes list a few items. I'll sit there. I'll get tired after I list a few, and I'll be done. It doesn't matter when I list. Whenever somebody can work or whenever somebody's listing, that's when they list. I don't care about the time at all. It's not based on time if you're doing a bin either. It's 30 days. It's up for 30 days. It doesn't matter when it ends or when it doesn't end. That's most of my business is a bin listing. Buy it now for almost everything with the best offer. Like 99.99% of everything I have is done as a bin best offer. Hey, Yvette, how are you doing? Do they call you back fairly quickly on eBay seller help? Winds of 106, no electricity today. Post office closed today. No internet yet in homes or businesses. I don't. We still use phone support at eBay. I still have the Anchor Store. I haven't dropped it down or anything as of yet. With Anchor Store and above, you can call them anytime. We've only had like a week where I couldn't call them, but just do eBay for business on Facebook, and they get right back with you. If you can't do it from your home, I'm sure your cell phone should hopefully have service. If you don't have internet at your home, too, I broadcast from my cell phone. As long as I have a cell signal, I can use my cell phone as a broadcast hub, and I can just Wi-Fi from my laptop to my phone. I can use that internet as Wi-Fi. So I still list when we don't have power. I actually have an inverter so I can run it off my car if I need to. And then I have power banks as well that'll run for most of a day. And in some case, I have two of them now too. So one will run a laptop for most of the day, honestly. So if I need to, I can still do all that. And literally, I have a secondary place to power one up, so I just drive somewhere else, drop it off. It charges in a few hours if I need the second one, and I go from there. I learned my lesson after Hurricane Katrina, so we always have backups for all that stuff. When the power's out, I still list. I still do business, just FYI. Again, it depends on what you have set up. I learned my lesson, though, on that one. That's a no-no for me. No criticizing towards you, Vet, or anything. Let's see here. Becky, how are you doing? We nearly blew off the map here in Iowa on Monday. Inland hurricane. Wow. Casey, how are you doing? Just want to say thanks for all the great content. I probably made $1,500 on Christmas tree skirts alone last year thanks to your Christmas guide video. Well, good to hear. Christmas skirts I've made a lot of money on too. They don't have to be vintage. We sell any Disney one we sell. We usually get about $40 or better for every single Christmas tree skirt I get that's Disney or characters in general. We had a Raggedy Ann and Andy one that we got like $400 for. It turned out it was from like 90 or something like that. Some collectible one. Christmas tree skirts do extremely well. Best place to find Christmas tree skirts in a quantity has always been the church sales around here. I always find them at church sales. Always. But thank you, Casey. Really appreciate that. Dirt Road Picker. Yeah, it must be your... I mean, I talked to eBay just the other day, so I don't know. Again, I have Anchor support, so they're routed to somebody's house. Yes, paying for scheduled listings, I don't think is worth it. Annie's talking about that for Crystal here as well, too. I have never scheduled a listing in my life, ever. I will never pay for a service such as that. It makes no sense as a bin. Again, the people that are buying from yours, it doesn't matter. To them, it's just an all-the-time listing. It's always there until somebody buys it. So they're not worried about, oh, no, this is going to end, because it just relists. And most people know that. So I never, ever worry about when it starts. And Annie's correct there. I also had, let me just bring this up here. I was talking the other day about dropping down my store level. And somebody had made a post comment saying, well, you're going to lose your views and stuff because they promote the Anchor stores more. I don't see any difference, nor has eBay said there was any difference between what you get from an Anchor store versus a premium store other than the amount of listings and the price you pay. There is supposed to be, again, this is what it's supposed to be. There's supposed to be no difference. You're not getting any benefit like a push because you have an Anchor store. You get the services that come with an Anchor store, like, phone support, which you can use, or, the other aspects, the free listings and all that stuff. That's the only difference. So there's no difference in that type of thing. There's no difference in the time frame you list them or anything like that. Auctions, though, if you're doing auctions, I would still honestly recommend having them end on a Sunday, and I would always recommend doing an auction 10 days these days, always. I would always, 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 always say 10-day auction, end on Sunday. End of story. Let's see here. You talking about CSS? I see style sheets, cascading style sheets. Hey Marty, do you have, or Don, have you ever tried to not list for a few days in a row to test if it impacts sales? There, yeah, when we were going there, I was talking about this too. When we first started with Shopify and InkFrog, we weren't listing for several days, so I didn't list anything. Sales didn't change at all. There's no difference whatsoever. And I talked to, well, I'm not going to call it somebody's name, but I talked to several other subscribers in here, and we've went back and forth on this too. There are bigger stores and stuff like that, and they've stopped listing. They didn't list for a month, and it didn't change much at all, other than the immediate sales they would get. Their volume was still fairly high. I don't see any difference in how much you list if you're selling the kind of stuff that we do. I don't know anybody who stopped listing who sells like NOS and clothing and stuff, so I don't want to speak on that behalf. That may be a totally different aspect. What I sell, most of what I sell, there's not many up, if any up. If there's 4 of something by other people up at any given time, that's usually a bunch for what we sell. It's rare that somebody's going to have the same label, the same card, the same postcard, or any of that kind of stuff. You know, it's rare to even find comps on many of the items that I sell, which is usually to my benefit, of course. But hopefully that makes sense, Marty. Let's see here. Crystal made a comment back saying, learning that paying for listings is not paying. I don't worry. I don't even consider the cost of listings anything really to us. I could care less. Even though we're saving like $1,300 a month with the fees we're given with all these free listings, that's not much considering how much money we were making off of that money. I have people say, well, I had to spend $1,000, so I had to give eBay $1,000. Yeah, but you made a lot of money. If you didn't make a lot of money, you're selling the wrong items. That's all I can say. I mean, again, my profit margin's huge because I pay nothing for the stuff. Most people walk by what I sell any day of the week if they're in a place. You know, it's insane what people sell for almost nothing these days. Even right now, even right this very second, you know. I get stuff that's just incredibly good stuff for almost nothing all the time. It's even weird sometimes. It's unexpected, but it always happens. You know, it's one of those things. Let's see what else we got going on here. Let me pop down. We're still talking about excellent question. Disney. South London Resell. How are you doing this evening? You're listing your Shopify to Google Shopping right now while you're listing. Yeah, you can do it and it's free too. So, yeah, as I said, I've got a video coming out on that because we're going to be playing. Well, I've actually played with it already, but we're going full steam. I'm going to pay my employees to link them and post them up too. Yeah, the Google Shopping's, once you get used to it though, it'll come to mind real quickly. It's easy once you figure it out, I promise. You shouldn't have any problem with that, Annie. Now Nobleness, you can't be an electrician online, but you can sell your services out from what I've seen too. Yeah, Fiverr's they do a lot of stuff on there too. I know people who had their like video clips made on there and all kinds of things too. Bigger channels and way beyond me, but question is, selling art in the public domain on eBay a viable way of making money? Depends on what you're selling. It depends on the specific items themselves is what I have to say on that one. Sometimes there's a rhyme and a reason to it, and sometimes there isn't. Certain characters, like from children's books that are in public domain, do very, very well if you market them correctly. You don't even have to market some of them correctly. Some of the items that we mess with are are tied to American culture in such a drastic way that anybody would know the names. And I'm not going to give out specifics because we do play in this field too. Those in Patreon, I think I've told you some of the characters we've done that with. There's a ton of them out there that you can do stuff with. A ton of them. Even stuff that there's still companies making movies of. Now, the newer stuff of the old characters you can't do, of course. Like there's some Disney stuff that you can't touch on. But the original content where Disney got the stuff from is in public domain in some cases. And those are the ones we go after. You have to be extremely careful, though, doing that, because Disney will go after some folks for some things like that. Just got to be careful. Yeah, Annie's talking about some of the designer things. You have to do a ton of work, and you may or may not get hired. That is true on some of those sites. I will tell you right off the bat, that is true. If you're doing it and you're not super great and you want to learn and get better at it, you're going to get better if you do a bunch of those too, though. So it's a toss of a coin on how you can do with those. If you're good at doing something, like doing a video or a voiceover or something, you might get a lot of work. Referrals are great on that as well, too. The voiceovers are an easy one because once they pay you, it's done. It just depends on, again, what type of business you're trying to push. It's not like there's the tattoo one. That one's more a contest, so to speak. But if somebody likes your work, from that point on, usually they just contact you directly. And that's most of the people that I know. Once they picked up a couple clients, they were all set. It's getting that initial client, that initial person in there seems to be the trick to it. At least that's my take. And again, we started selling certain categories. We didn't pick up enough clientele right away. It took time. And then they told somebody in word of mouth, and then it's 10 years in now, everybody who buys certain items knows that my store name and knows, hey, I'm going to come there and look at that store because it's got more than any of the other vendors online or on that specific site that we're selling on. I guess that's the take on it. Yeah, you can, like on Fiverr and like Annie's talking about on Upwork and stuff. Fiverr has like a feedback rating on there. You can see how much business they've done. You can send them a question and some, ask some information from them as well too, and you can kind of feel out how they are and stuff like that before you hire somebody. I've talked to a few people already on there, just FYI, and I haven't had any bad experiences on the site yet. And there's some people that have made some insane amounts of money just selling their services on there. Yeah, I got you on that, the demeaning. Yeah, there's some rates that are insane on there. I will agree. Yeah, it's not, once you figure it out, I see Kathy's talking about the Google Shopping again. Yeah, it's not that bad, I promise you. Yeah, I'm going to go into the API as well, too. I'm fine with the Google and stuff. Hang on, I'm just trying to get a few more questions. We're going to cut it off. I know I'm ran really long today. Yeah, I'm Duncan. I can't. I hate the phones for listing. Yeah, I can't. There's no way I could do it. Shopify Slice Keeper. Shopify is basically your own website. That's all it is. Don't think of it as Shopify. Think of it as Slice Keeper's site. That's all it is. It's just a service that you're using that it's a host basically, and you can add all kinds of stuff to your site through that host. There's a tax app that you can add to there that'll collect all the sales tax for you. And that was one of the ones that I was worried about. I wanted to make sure I had a viable means to collect as much of that as I can. So that worked out fine for us. Yeah, I'm not an iPad person either. I think we have one around here. Yeah, I like to do everything from the laptop, other than the photos. Obviously, we have the DSLRs. Having used Shopify quite a bit and set up for others, have just set up my eBay store onto it. Highly recommend. Yeah, I'm happy with Shopify. Even though I've had issues with it, with importing, that I've got a ton, I've got tens of thousands of listings to import, and I've got them on many different sites trying to sync them all together. If I started this when I didn't have as many listings, I'd have been long since done and been happy as can be. It's my own fault for not looking into something like this sooner, but you never know where your business is going to go. Your dog is your alarm clock, not ours. Nordic Mango. I took some art history classes. I'm an artist as well. I did do art. I took a bunch of art classes in the past. I actually took lessons from a national contest when I was in grade school, and they paid for me to go to the art museum here in town for like master classes and stuff. But Kathy's dream is 10,000 listings. Now, Nordic Mango, on loading him to Shopify, depending on how much you list, you can use InkFrog. Don't use the API through Shopify. I use InkFrog specifically because you can use Best Offer, and it's set up for managed payments. eBay's API for Shopify is not, last I checked. And I want Best Offer. You can't do Best Offer on their app. Going from InkFrog to Shopify was easy. Going from eBay to InkFrog was just clicking some buttons and then waiting a few minutes. That's it. I didn't have to do much. Going from InkFrog to Shopify has been a piece of cake comparatively to how we did it before. So I actually paid a company to import my listings from eBay into Shopify, but I didn't have the link. So it was a fiasco. I deleted, and we threw away that money, and we just started over. Crystal, ADHD are here, and I pegged you for that too. Yeah, that is me. I'm anal retentive on stuff. I do have OCD when it comes to something like yesterday. I'm terrible on timing sometimes when I'm working. I don't pay attention to the clock. Clock's off right now. And Dom, Primetime Treasure Hunter, good friend of the channel. I miss his show so many times because I'm just tied up, and I made a conscious effort, made a note, did everything I needed to do. Said, I'll watch him. I'm sitting here. I'll be down here. Usually I'm working while I've got him on. Something didn't work right, and I just totally zoned out everything else, and I was just totally focused for 2.5 hours on getting that video done. That's all I could think about the entire time. It totally was encompassing everything in my brain at that point until I got that done. I get very aggravated. Not aggravated. I guess I get too much into it, and I have to fix it before I can go on, and I totally missed the show. I was irritated about that. I even had to text them afterwards and say I was sorry. Stormont King's chess program. What are good websites to look up price guides on books, games, chess sets, collectibles, etc.? eBay is where I look up 99% of everything. If you're on eBay, use Terapeak, and that'll give you the rest of the information. I do not pay for WorthPoint. Very rarely is there an issue where I would ever even need WorthPoint. Maybe twice in my life. Again, I'm not saying it's not good. I just don't sell stuff that needs that. So it's going to all come down to what you sell. Most all of that, games, chess sets, all that stuff, I sell personally on eBay. I love vintage chess sets. Civil War chess set we sold for some big money. Other chess sets go extremely well too. I have the Lord of the Rings one here. I sold the Harry Potter chess set. All that stuff does very, very well. Are progressive web apps worth pursuing for online marketing? Google is where I'm going to do all my marketing. I don't Google and Facebook, that's all I'm going to use. Nothing else that I can see. Now we've got a store now on Facebook Marketplace and on Instagram's Market too, which will be rolled out with this as well. So I'm going to have to play around and see how that works. I would assume that those apps themselves will help draw it in my opinion. Again, I've looked into that quite aggressively lately. Oh, hang on just a second. We're going to end it in just a few minutes here. Let's see here. Come here, come here, come here. You get to see my baby. There's the baby. Yes, I know, I know. Yeah, I know, Kath, in different countries you're limited as well by the platforms available. Marty, hip is a graveyard for you. I don't know quantity-wise what you have up would be the issue. We've got like 4,500 items on hip alone. If it's not working, Marty or Annie, for you, just, again, drop it off. For me, I more than pay for mine anytime. Again, they gave us like a package thing for 90 days, and I'm just playing it by ear. I'm fine with the sales that are coming in. You know, I can't complain because we're always making money. And again, I got big quantity. If it's not, if you're not making the money, again, if I don't make money on somewhere, I'm not going to do it anymore. Just end of story. I mean, we made some money in Poshmark, but I just don't like the clothing, so I don't do that. Just depends, I guess. I've tried Ruby Lane for a few months. It wasn't a great experience for me. The buyers expect to call and email me. I didn't care for it. Yeah, I don't care. Ruby Lane is more like big, long-time, high-end, not all of it, but most of it, what I see is high-end, expensive collectibles. And they want more of a personal interaction. Most of the people that are on there, though, are gung-ho. I mean, totally in on buying from the people that are on there, and they've got a rapport with them. They've got clientele. It's hard to break in to Ruby Lane, in my opinion, and that's part of the reason why we haven't messed with Ruby Lane, in all honesty, because I didn't see I don't have a need for it right now, for one. The cost and time factor were the other aspects of it. Again, my time is huge to me these days. So again, I'm not going to mess with Ruby Lane just because of those factors. So what Eduardo, so what marketplace you think is best for vintage? eBay is probably the best one, in all honesty. But if you can get in with people, again, send me an email, Eduardo, and I'll shoot you off a nice full-fledged explanation on that as well. Charles Lowe, where can I sell trees and shrubs? If you're talking about like potted ones, you can sell those, believe it or not, on eBay, believe it or not. There are some other companies that do it as well, too. You can sell them on Amazon, I do believe, as well. We've bought live plants off of eBay before, and they do go for some good money. I've sold live plants on eBay as well, too, and they do go for some decent money. Trees, the shipping part is what you're going to have to look into. You may need like your own site for something like that, Charles. That would be one I would have to look into a little better, though. Yeah, A-Books I mentioned before. Yeah, it's a good one, too. And Biblio is very good as well. Nordic Mango. You can import your listings to Shopify for free through Shopify, but they're only in specific categories. You can't do best offer, and it wasn't taking managed payments last time I looked. A lot of the features that are available in other apps through the API is not available on eBay's API with Shopify. I personally think they do not want people cross-listing their items any more than they have to. There's actually in the user agreement says that you won't have the same items you have on eBay for sale on another platform. That's still in there right this very second. In fact, I have that shown in a video where I show that section of the user agreement. So from eBay's old user agreement, which again, they don't change everything. There's so many things where they just change one line and don't fix everything else that goes with it. Like overall, like their whole structure on the store levels. It doesn't make any sense with some of the other stuff they have in there based on the amount of free listings you get. It's just pointless, some of the stuff they do. They only piecemeal change it. They'll change one aspect, another aspect, and then leave all the rest alone. It's insane what they do. We use InkFrog, though, to import. And it's flawless, works perfectly, and you can do anything you can do on eBay with InkFrog. And it's $30 a month for the amount of listings we have. I think they have like a $15 offer or $15 option. Well, like if eBay mysteriously loses your photos like they did with 38 million photos, maybe it's even higher than that, or your listings disappear or something, you still have them. They're always in InkFrog. You won't have a problem with photos or anything else. It's always there, and you can automatically force a sync, so it'll automatically propagate them back out to eBay if eBay does something. So. Hang on, let's just get to a few more. I know we're running way long. I'm going to end it in just a minute here. Mr. Hot Wheels, how are you doing? Hey, Chuck. Well, thank you very kindly. Have you ever heard of Hellbros watches? What are they? I have no idea Hellbros watches. No idea on that one at all. Duncan's ordering KFC. Jim Cooncat, how are you doing? Any progressive web apps are more like web-based mobile apps that are lighter and use less space on your phone. They also not so popular here in Zimbabwe. I'm not a phone app person, so I wouldn't use any of that. Let's see here. Let's pop down. Yeah, they're talking about how to put the @ sign to highlight the person. Let's see here. Let's get down to a question. I'll do one more question here if I can find one. We got a lot of chatter. Well, thank you, Crystal. Thank you very kindly. Retro Dottie, well, good evening. Good to have you in as well. Yeah, we sell die cuts as well as 1,000 other different items. Die cuts just happen to be the flavor of the day, I guess. Good to hear Marty as well, too. Just to shoot me back, as I said, if you have any more questions on the Amazon aspect. Marty, too, if you go into Patreon, I have a video on literally how I list those, I think, too, in the historical section. Well, it wouldn't matter for you, but it's basically the same thing on how to list without a ISIN number. Nose Pickens. South London Research. I just learned that there are over 3,750,000 artworks in the public domain. This must mean that there are opportunities for reselling these images on various platforms. Yes, there are. As I said, I know people that just do public domain work, like the books, public domain books. You can make a fortune just selling that kind of thing, in all honesty, if you do enough of it. You could hire people that just scan books that are in public domain and have a library of thousands of books on Amazon, believe it or not. You know, who cares what you get out of them? At the point, once you get them up, it's just your time is all you have invested into it. It doesn't take a whole long time to scan an entire book, in all honesty. I've done entire books before, and I've been to people's houses that do that as a business, and I've seen how long it takes them to do a book. It's not that bad, in all honesty. It just depends on the software you have, because it'll digitize the letters, and you can actually edit and reformat them. That's what you want to do. You want to be able to reformat them to fit the proper format. It's very specific on eBay, or not on eBay, on Amazon. Rob, pickers, again, asking on pickers in your area. I don't know where your area is, so I wouldn't know how to tell you on that. My pickers came, the first ones, by accident. Again, source down the video I have here on YouTube, on the feed here. There is a video on pickers, and I think pickers is actually in the title. I do have a recent one in my Patreon feed as well. We're going to leave it at that because I'm way over what I said I usually do. I don't like to go too long. YouTube does penalize you, it seems, when you do long videos. They penalize most live videos in general, it seems. At least that's my personal experience on it. I do appreciate everybody coming on. I'm going to make it abrupt and cut off here because we're at the 2-hour mark. I do have to get up early tomorrow, and I got a couple hours worth of stuff still to do today. I will be processing the video the second I get off this feed here, and we should have the Patreon video up as well, too. I do thank everybody for coming on. I do have another video. I'm going to try and get it up earlier from now on YouTube as well, which will be up tomorrow. And as I said, Patreon video tonight. I may have the other half of it up tomorrow, but it'll probably be Saturday I'm looking at. But I do appreciate everybody coming on. I do thank you for your time. Thank you for the support of the show. If you did like the channel, did like the show, please hit the like button as well, too. But I thank everybody for coming on.